Pickathon universe. This is episode 36 of the Pickathon Podcast, which is kind of amazing. We're at 3 dozen, so officially at that point. I'm going to have a wonderful guest on today, Paine from Elephant Revival, and we're going to talk all about music. And what's kind of really cool about this fun episode is this is my first guest that has real strong connections to Colorado and Netherlands, to be specific, which for me is kind of the birthplace of, where my birthplace of music was in Kentucky and North Carolina. Learned to play mandolin there, but I just got good enough. I wasn't that good when I was in playing in North Carolina, but I just had enough skills to jump into the music scene in around 94, when I moved to Boulder for grad school. And so much happened to me in Colorado. Like I have such fond memories. One, I just never had access to the West, and as much as Boulder was unaffordable, I was a grad student getting paid for by the university in a weird profession called electromagnetics, which is about as far away from festivals as you can be. But I was in that program because I'd kind of screwed around in my undergrad and barely got a 3.0. I was in undergrad for I think 5.5, and like 2.5 or 3 years I had to rock a 4.0 to get a 3.0. And that saved my booty, because that 3.0 allowed me to apply to all these programs when I was had my first job in North Carolina, down Chapel Hill. Awesome place, the best, one of these great places. Yeah, and then Boulder had this program that had more math than anybody ever wanted to do. It was this electromagnetics. You had to take calculus 7 and all this kooky stuff if you were going to sign up. And I think they had trouble getting folks, and I was like, man, I am totally doing this. And so I jumped in, and that kind of led me to Portland when I met my wife Wendy, and we moved here for Intel. So but all of that happened in Boulder, musically, professionally, festival wise. Everything came together, and it's definitely one of the most unsustainable places to live. I didn't ever think of it that way, because somehow I was in this weird magical world of music and school, and I had a rent for $250 to live with my friend, my bass player, and my band. We were living up on Boulder Canyon, 3 miles up, or 2 miles up, not even that, 3 miles from campus, but right past the red line, right past the kind of turn to the left-hand canyon there was this on the way to Netherlands, there's this incredible driveway. It goes up 700 feet with views of the back of the Flatirons, which is essentially there's nobody living on it. So I had this kind of interesting southeast facing deck. I couldn't see any lights, no city lights, didn't hear anything. And I was 3 miles from town, and I was right next to Batasso, which is 800 acres above me. And boy, I thought that was the good life. There, we had the craziest time, and I was just completely in love with the whole place. And I was in this crazy band called Soul Tractor back in the days, and we used to play, and hopefully we'll talk to our guests about Netherlands and Gold Hill. And actually my first gig before I even played with my bluegrass band there was with a Zydeco band called the Zooks Zydeco, Steve Burnside, and I played Crest Butte somewhere, and then eventually ended up playing kind of Christmas, playing trumpet and washboard with this band at the place where I know Elephant Revival had their first gig, and incredible place called Gold Hill Inn. And that whole scene, I actually was very good friends with the folks, with Keith Mosley from String Cheese. He was actually a bass player in our band for a while. And we had this festival that is kind of the genesis of Pickathon, and it was a bit of a rag on Telluride. It was the Tell You What festival. That was because all of our music friends couldn't actually. Some of them were too weird to play Telluride in terms of music style. Some of them just weren't quite there. But there was this kind of outsider feeling of a lot of music community that couldn't get access to the Planet Bluegrass world at the time. And so we kind of made this fun parody festival. Tell you what, everybody got like a cereal box was a radio. You had your own radio, so you acted like you were in charge. And we had an incredible mix of music. Like over this weekend at this Hughes house, who was kind of leading the Cajun music scene, and I was very tied to KGNU, Boulder Community Radio. I just made a music documentary. I had like a minor in video at that time, and just we started the first film festival there for the university, and all of it kind of was around music and community. And that little weird festival is what kind of the Tell You What festival is kind of like the genesis. When I came to Portland, I was like, man, we need a weird festival here. I didn't really want to just start, like, part of the Tell You What was like not just bluegrass, not just blues, not just rock. And, was the genre thing where you had to be in a certain type of music to be cool or for a community to kind of rally around you. And we, from a musician's point of view, everyone listens to everything that I knew. And just felt dumb to have like a specific festival. So, that was Tell You What. We came to Oregon in 97, and 99 was the first year of Pickathon. It was totally tiny. It was a benefit for KBOO, which was the community radio station. And we talked about the history of Pickathon quite a bit here, but it's interesting because of all of those connections. I always think of Colorado and it as its own really fertile music culture. And it's kind of hard to put your finger on what, is it the nature? Is it the people? What is it? But it really is. It's just so many great things have come out of there, including my guest today, Bonnie. Welcome from Elephant Revival. I'm so honored to have you here today.
Moonshine, water, her mother's daughter says she did not love me.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
I don't know if we crossed paths. Were you in that part of the world? And when did you move to Colorado?
I think it was closer to 2006 when I moved there, probably.
And where did you grow up? Where was that?
I grew up in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. It's the Cherokee Nation capital, the foothills of the Ozark Mountains, and very different.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, pretty wild. Yeah.
As a place I've never been, but I'm just trying to picture like so many influences kind of coming together there too. I'm guessing, musically, culturally.
Yeah.
How was it growing up there?
It was beautiful. It was very musical. All my sisters play music or played. We all started on drums. My mom sang constantly around the house and stuff. She was too shy to perform, but loved hearing her sing. And my dad had these little parties in the backyard of our woods with flatbed trailers. We would set up 2 drum sets, and me and all my sisters would play. We would all share the drum sets. It started with 1, and then we set up 2, and we would all just play.
Love double drums.
Me too.
Love double drums.
Yeah.
So what's drums? Why drums? Why did everybody start on drums?
I think because my oldest stepsister played drums. She's kind of had like a John Bonham style, incredible drummer still. And so she taught all of us how to play. And then I moved to electric guitar, and my other sister moved to bass so that we could play melodic songs.
Have a proper band.
Yeah, instead of just trying.
Was it still in the Led Zeppelin world? Were you like John Bonham?
We went all over the place. We had, I think our first song we called the surfing song. It was kind of like a do-do-do-do-do-do. And we like to rock out. And we became the backup band for this kind of wizard songwriter named Randy Crouch, who just lives, he's like a hermit out there in the mountains. You probably don't know him, but he's
like a regional legend.
Yes. Yeah. He's written a ton of cool old songs. And so me and 3 of my sisters were his, rotating backup band.
That's so cool. Is he, is he still playing?
He does. It's pretty hard for him to get around. You have to go get him, pick him up and walk him to the van pretty much. But yeah, he's still doing it.
Do you have family still in the area? over there?
Yep, lots of family in Oklahoma. Mom, dad, and sisters, and nieces and nephews. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really, I mean, it's a wild. How does the Native American kind of like culture kind of intermingle musically in any of the worlds you were in?
Um, Not as much as you'd think. There's definitely like a little different way of speaking there. Like the signs are in Cherokee and stuff, and there's
Hmm.
like a kind of pattern of speech that's a little different that probably influences the music that way. And there were powwows. I only went to a few of the powwows growing up for some reason, but yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool. Like I think a lot of indigenous music has been kind of like we've been just tapping into these really cool scenes that are all, very much local to their music traditions. Powwows kind of like the cross thread, but it's some of it's like electric EDM type powwow music.
That's fun.
Um,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's just I mean I'm fascinated just kind of like the cross pollination there between music
Yeah.
and like that. I mean the Ozarks is also just rich with like not I mean it's kind of there's swing there, there's Appalachian there, right? There's all this
Yeah.
I mean, all the. Is there any famous songwriters from that area that like are national that I should know?
There's like J.J. Cale and
Oh, really? He's from that area.
yes, there's so many I'm not thinking of right now, but if you wanna know, you got to take a ride. What is that guy's name?
Oh yes. Yes. Now I'm in mind block. I'm having the mental block. All of our listeners are saying it out loud
I
as we
know.
as
I'm
we.
sorry for not knowing. I should know. There's a lot of folks who come through there. I think Bonnie Raitt might have been from there. Maybe. I'm not sure. I should know. I was named after her. I should know where
No.
she's from, but
Oh my God, you are? That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, my mom's gonna be. Yeah, I should have know where she's from, but yeah. Whoops.
I totally understand. I don't even remember, many things about my own childhood. My mom still remembers almost everything. Oh, you remember when you were wearing this and this happened to you on that day? I was like, what, Mom? That was 20 years ago. How do you remember this?
That's awesome.
She does. My mom is, it's got this crazy memory. And I just am not that person. I remember things and places and experiences, but, you know, so then what brought you to Colorado? What was the Colorado journey for you?
It's one of the first places I ever traveled on my own, and I loved it. Loved it for so many reasons. It's just beautiful here, and the air is clean, and
Oh my God.
yeah, there's not
So beautiful.
a bunch of poisonous animals and insects trying to get you. It's kind of a lot of freedom to go out in the woods, and Bridget.
Just rattlesnakes.
Yeah, just rattlesnakes, but at least they warn you. They have an etiquette about them. We grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
We had snakes in our showers. We had them under our stove, in our beds.
Copperheads and water moccasins.
Copperheads and water moccasins in our house. So it was just so relieving to come here and be like, you don't have those? Like, I'm in. But really the music is what brought me here. I met Bridget Law and Dango Rose and Charlie Rose actually all at the same time, who are Pride of Elephant. And that was Bridget asked me to come out.
Before you moved, or did you move them just like, how did you meet them?
Oh, I met them all at Winfield Bluegrass Festival in Kansas, actually. I wanted to be an ethnomusicologist at the time, so I had this little mini disc recorder that I'd carry around with me. I had just gotten back from traveling around the world and recording different, mostly kind of tribal music stuff that I could find, and old European stuff. And so I had this thing in my pocket, and when I heard this kind of funky bass line that I followed all through the campsites and found finally, and it was Dango on the bass, and I guess the recorder accidentally came on, and I have it recorded of when I first met all three of them. We hear Bridget say, "Hi, I'm Bridget," and I didn't realize it till like 10 years later that we had recorded that.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and then she asked me to come with her to a pickin' festival, and then she asked me to move into her mom's basement. basically, in Colorado.
What festival in Colorado?
The one, it actually was in Colorado. She said she's going to come back through in a couple months and go to NBMA. Is that what it's called? Up in Louisville, Kentucky.
IBMA?
IBMA, sorry, yeah. So she came and picked me up in Tahlequah, and we rode there together. And then we got there and we pulled the same dress out of
That's
our
cool.
bag. So which was pretty exciting. Yeah.
And so that was it. That was the beginning. You guys clicked, and then you moved to. Did you move to Netherlands? Is that where you were living?
Yeah, I had like a little apartment in Lakewood for a minute, and then Vince Herman called me and said, I got
Oh,
a
yeah,
place for you
Vince.
next door. So I moved in to the cabin next door to him and got introduced to a whole different world of music that I had never seen.
The leftover salmon universe.
Yes, it was very different. And then the string cheese universe. And yeah, it was a very different world all of a sudden. And then the Irish jams in town were just beautiful. And yeah, it was fun.
There used to be this awesome pizza place. I don't think it's anymore. Top of the Square pizza we used to play all the time. But yeah, I mean, Vince was kind of like the captain of that universe even back when I was there in 93, 94, 95. Like, and string cheese was just a baby. Like, it was like this idea. But you were there probably, I mean, 2006, that is heyday city for string cheese, right? They were like,
Yeah.
I mean, they used to headline any festival on the West Coast, like the place where we started Pickathon out at Horning's Hideout.
Oh, yeah.
The reason we had to move from Horning's Hideout, well, Keith doesn't know this, but was because of the string cheese folks. Because there was the String Summit, which was the Yonder Mountain String Band, which is probably friends you guys know too.
Yeah.
And they are they from there too? Is that from the same area?
Yep, totally. I
Oh,
met them there
goodness.
also. Yeah.
Yes, they were. This music was so big here. We had this place out in North Plains, and so the String Summit. I don't know if did you ever play the String Summit?
I love it. Yeah, totally. My friend here is one lives in town who put it on or helped put it on. One of the guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
Guy.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Sky McDonald. Sky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We've never met, but I'd love to shout out to Sky. It was an awesome festival, and it was a cool little place. But back in those days, he was having, Bob was having hell of a problem with his neighbors. And lots of other weird things have happened to Bob Lassay. We won't talk about Bob so much, but that particular spot back in the day was, he had to have two festivals. And one was like a state exception, and one was like a county exception. And you could different sizes. And the two festivals that were just crushing it and sold out were the String Summit, with Yonder, and which was actually amazing, and then String Cheese. String Cheese could play as many times as they ever wanted in this area, and they could sell out every time. And it was kind of that they were 5,000 people, which with us was humongous. We were at 200 people back then, and so we moved sites back in 2005 with 2 months to go. It was June, and it wasn't a very complex festival, but it was Bob was you can't be here. And we're like, what?
Oh.
I know. But it was good because we had 1 year in this place called Pudding River, which was this crazy little farm and down in Woodburn, about 30 minutes from here on a crazy kind of polluted agricultural river called the Pudding River. And we brought another festival with us, the Reggae Festival, and we had a year there, and there was kind of a weird Hatfield and McCoy thing going on with their neighbors, and we got kicked out of there. And then we ended up at this incredibly place that you're going to see this year called the Pit Harvest Farm, 2006. That's
awesome. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre piece of property in a city. It's 100 acres of hillside with big Doug fir forest, and the farm is this beautiful place, and so it really is the setting. My connections to Colorado, like I said, Keith was in my original band. There's all the connections there, of Colorado, and I almost played Rocky Grass. I literally was at the airport they asked us, they're like, oh, Soul Tractor definitely playing Rocky Grass, and we moved.
Oh,
I moved the year, and I was like, we never did it, and so that was a sad thing. I kind of always thought myself as I could live here the rest of my life, and I
yes.
really, it's that beautiful a place.
It's so pretty. And that rocky grass spot is so pretty. We played the band competition, Charlie Rose and Bridget and I, before Elephant was a band, actually there.
2005.
Maybe so. Yeah, I think so. I just showed up and I didn't know what we were doing. And they're like, we're doing this performance. And then I found out it was a competition. I was like, oh. But we went twice over the amount of length that you're supposed to play the song. So one of the judges came up later and he said, you guys were pretty close, but then you disqualified because you went like
Really?
4 minutes
That
over
was
the
actually
time or something.
that's a rule. There's actually a time you're
Yeah,
disqualified if you go
you
over
only
it.
got one song each, and yeah, ours was like 8 minutes or something.
I loved going there. We used to volunteer and yeah, just endless music constantly playing. I was.
Yeah,
Have you ever been to Oregon? There's a kind of like a place, Bend, Oregon really reminds me a lot of
yeah,
Colorado.
I
Um,
love that area. Yeah, we've played. Where did we play in Bend? We've played a little place there.
Volcano Room or the Midtown, one of the two, maybe,
Maybe the
or
Midtown. Yeah, bar-like scene, maybe. Something.
1,000 person kind of bar like scene. Yep, it was an old roller rink, probably.
I
There's
think
not too
so.
many places to play in Bend, except
Yeah.
they have a really big amphitheater now. But yeah, that's where my parents moved because they're from Montana, and my dad and mom, who my mom was over the years of Pickathon, and my dad have both run big chunks of it. So like they wanted a western sloping town, and we looked at Boulder and all those areas. It was just so expensive, even back in 2000 when they were looking. And Bend, I was in Portland with my wife Wendy, and we weren't sure we were going to stay there because my wife's from Florida, and she could not believe, winters in Colorado are so weird in a way, like even if you're not a winter person, they're not hard.
Yeah.
Like it gets warm and sunny, or it gets cloudy and it snows.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, I like winter.
Yeah.
Winter's fun.
Manageable for sure.
Yeah. Move to a rainier version of winter with then there's like, winter sucks. And it wasn't hard though. It was like 40s and raining. So like being from Kentucky where it's like 25 and 30 and raining and icing on you all the time. We almost didn't move, but then my parents ended up just staying in Bend, and I just love going there. I just was there last week, just spending time with them, and it's really, really reminds me so much of the high desert of kind of Colorado, and I just
Yeah. That's crazy.
yeah,
Oregon's a very diverse state climate-wise. It's pretty amazing.
it is. I definitely I feel spoiled, like I can't live in a place where I don't have access to nature.
Yeah. Me neither. No.
Yeah. Even if it was like a super well paying, I always had that problem. I was like, I think I would go crazy if it had to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people do probably and don't realize it. Um, yeah, I don't know, but or maybe not. Maybe I'm projecting. I need to be
No.
outdoors a lot for sure. I love it.
So you guys all met. We're going back to the band beginning here. And what was the first kind of things that led you to your first gig at Gold Hill? What was the
Um, Dango Rose sent me a text message. We did have. It was like I had just gotten a cell phone, and the text message had a list of dates on it. Gold Hill Inn, the Stage Stop, I think like Pearl Street Pub or something. There's something in New Mexico, the Taos Brewing Company maybe or something. And then he had dates next to it, and then at the bottom he said Elephant Revival Concept ? And it was like do you want to do these shows and call it this? And I was like, okay, we'll change the name later. But yeah, and then we dropped the concept, but we never really changed the name. It was just that's how it started.
what is that name? Where did it come from?
It came from Dango was busking in front of the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago in front of the elephant cage, and there had been two elephants that had been together for over a decade, and a zoo in Utah, I think, bought one of them, and when they were separated, they both ended up dying, and he attributed it to heartbreak because they're pack animals. You know, they were a kind of friend pair that probably shouldn't have been separated, and so he saw that as inspiration to get our little pack together. Basically, that's where it came from.
That's cool. And your first gig was, I mean, it's hard to describe how cool Gold Hill is. Like it's just the drive from Boulder up Sunshine Canyon to Gold Hill.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's
so
just
fun.
it's so awesome. I mean, just like looking back as you're driving up Gold Hill, you're like, it's just so stunning. And then I wish I knew more about the history, but it's like an old historic little mining town, right? Or is it?
Yeah, gold mining town. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same old structures from the 1800s, as far as I know.
And the actual Gold Hill is a really old, cool building, and it used to have these. I don't know if it still had multi-course meals. It was like one of the cooler places to. Yeah.
Yeah.
They still have it.
Yeah, it's so nice. Yeah, and they still have Washboard Chaz's washboard up there because he was the mayor of the town.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that place, and it's just the vibe. I mean, it's still. I don't know. Has it grown? Has it become like a bigger town, or is it still this tiny little place?
It's still pretty small as far as I know. I haven't been there in a little while, but yeah, it's pretty small. Gregory Allen Eiskopf plays there around Christmas every year and always asks me to play with him, but I never can because it's holiday time. But I get to hear how it went, and it sounds like it's very much the same, which is why he likes playing there.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. We did not cross paths either during Boulder, but I know he lives there, right? Gregory,
yeah.
And he played Pickathon way back in the day. And yeah, I feel like we have lots of connections too. Like that's cool. Have you ever been to Ward?
Yes.
Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've been there. That's a wild little Wild West city. Yeah.
At the time I lived there, my wife's mom's, one of her best friends, Candy, who had Candy's vintage store, and I don't think it's there because she passed away. But she had a horse farm. She lived up in Ward, and we were up there for 4th of July one year. And I don't know if you've ever, it's like the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, I haven't. I've been warned to not go there. Right? That's they get crazy on 4th of July. They have bottle rocket wars and stuff, right?
Bottle rocket wars and some bonfire the size of like a couple buses, kind of.
Oh, Jesus.
And I think at the time they didn't even have a mayor. They elected somebody who died as the mayor, it was a police chief.
Yeah.
It was like somebody in honor of him.
Oh wow.
We're gonna make this person the police chief, and they did.
Oh,
and it didn't really have that much structure. I can't imagine that Ward's changed a ton because it just was like yeah, I mean, it was this cool town though. I loved going up there. It was always the place we went because the Millside Inn, which is still there on the Peak to Peak Highway right above it.
Yeah.
And I don't know when they stopped having music or if they do, but it used to be like the bluegrass jam of all bluegrass jams was at that place.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. We used to go there. Every Saturday night we used to go there, and Danny, what was Danny's last name? He was the kind of the founders of the bluegrass scene there, and he had a radio show on KGNU, and yeah, I have such fond memories of that. Oh, and Buck, God darn it, these folks passed away, I know now, but they were like back when all of these bands we're talking about were starting. Like there was a whole bunch of cast of characters that were kind of guiding all of us, which was cool.
Yeah, totally. I think it's still illegal to wear spandex in Ward. I think that's one of their only rules for some reason.
I love these rules.
don't know why.
That's awesome. It's like I always love just the fact that I always just feared that somehow it was just going to be like rebuilt and it's just kind of like super wealthy bedroom town of Boulder.
Nope, still pretty wild. Yeah, and it sounds like they still have the crazy bottle rocket wars, as from what I heard, at least a couple of years ago it was going, which is what I grew up doing in Oklahoma too. We had bottle rocket wars, but probably why a lot of kids weren't allowed to play with us. It's a little crazy.
They're fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we did too in Kentucky. We almost like started a crazy fire in our neighborhood, but the cops would always chase us by somewhere about like a couple hours of playing bottle rocket wars. They never caught us, but we would always like end up in a big like scrum trying to get away from them.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So you guys, did it take off quickly after kind of like the beginning? Like you guys have put out, you did a lot of shows and you six records in between when you started all the way when you took your hiatus in 2018. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of albums.
Did things go fast, or do you feel like it really took a long? Like, how would you describe that whole arc of how things went for you guys?
I mean, it felt quick to me, but most things do feel kind of quick to me when it comes to outside interactions, I guess. But it was quite the adventure. All of a sudden, we were touring around the country in a vegetable oil powered bus, and that was crazy. And yeah, we ended up
that was early, kind of when buses were. That was the movement of like powering it with like was it like biodiesel? I mean, just basically oil, right?
Yeah, well, it could do biodiesel, but it also could just do straight vegetable oil. So we would pull into the back of Chinese restaurants or wherever had peanut oil was the best, and I had this like little onesie thing I'd put on and help filter out the oil, and then we would get a tip that they weren't allowed to give it to us, but if we came back after midnight, we could come back and steal it, and they wouldn't be upset just because there was regulations around it. So we would come in like little bandits and pump their oil tanks, and it worked pretty well for a while. Made us all smell like French fries all the time, but
That's so cool. That's amazing. And you actually could go across the country trying to find places where you could get, oil on tour.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did you ever get stuck? Like ever get like, oh shoot, we can't find French fry oil?
No, because you could just use diesel if you didn't have it. So that was nice.
Really?
Yeah, so we had a backup tank. My bed was on the tank actually, and so you would, once the diesel had circulated enough and the engine was warm, then you would switch over to vegetable oil. But if you didn't have vegetable oil, you just run on diesel. But we almost always had oil.
That's cool. And like, I mean, I was looking. I mean, there's an incredible show you guys recorded on your last performance before you took your hiatus in Red Rocks, which was that actually the last show before?
Yeah. Before the break. Yeah, that was crazy. It was my birthday. Yeah.
Wow. What day was that? What day?
May 20th. I'm pretty sure it was the birthday day. Either that was or the year before when we played was my birthday day. I should know, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, how awesome was it to play Red Rocks? Like, I mean, did you played it a couple times? How many times have you guys gotten to headline it?
I think we headlined 3 times, I'm pretty sure. So that was our 3rd time.
It's a pretty wild place.
It's gorgeous.
Right? It's so special.
Yeah.
I know, and most folks maybe know what we're talking about, but it's this state park, right? Is it a state park or is it a county park? I think
it's a state park. Pretty sure. It's a giant natural amphitheater.
Ridiculous sandstone rocks that they built these series of bleachers onto the rocks, and it's like 9,000 person venue. It's I talk about it all the time because we kind of eventually want to try to build the Red Rocks. We haven't talked a lot about it on podcasts, but just started talking about it. There's an opportunity to build the Red Rocks of Oregon.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking to build.
Oh.
but it's big trees are the difference, not the red rocks. But then there's mountains and you can see Mount Hood and all of that, but it's so epic at Red Rocks it's hard to describe.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's got a lot of ancient history too, with the dinosaur fossils everywhere, and there's old Native American ceremonies that went on there and stuff too. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I know nothing really. It's so funny. There was so much I didn't get to do or learn, and yeah, I've only been there once out of all the times that I lived there. So I just avoid. But the one time I was there, it blew my mind. So I completely am, yeah, thinking of that place when I think of making cool venues, because we've like thought of the way we build the festival. One of the things you'll see when you come is there's nothing here that's like a pop-up stage. At Pickathon, we have an incredible community, and we think of everything as art, and we design, build these crazy spaces. But in the recent years, we've really been inspired by setting and nature, and like thinking, because nature is the coolest stuff, makes the coolest. We say nature's the best vibe. It's truly
for
true.
Sure. It's majestic.
There was one great, interesting kind of things I want to know, kind of post 2018. But I was reading kind of, how did your crazy bus? What was the fire? Was it because of the vegetable oil? Like I heard there was a.
Well, by then we had switched to a regular Prevost bus, and it was an electrical fire, and really weird. That whole night I kept having these weird dreams, and I kept going up to the bus driver, who's a friend, and being like, "Man, is everything all right?" Because I was having these dreams that there was like this. I don't know if I should get into it, but there was kind of this like
You should.
glowy light presence thing that was like urging me. And the AC had stopped working, so it felt like really stagnant and strange in there. And I said, "Can we just pull over and just check really quick, like what's going on with the AC, or is everything cool? I'm just having these weird dreams." So he pulled over and checked, and he's like, "I don't know what to tell you. Everything looks fine." And I was like, "Okay, well, thanks." And then I slipped back into sleep, and then I had this dream that the band was about to get on this raft that was on this river that was going way too fast. We were about to just like zip down this crazy river. And then I could hear the sound of the river was like a hissing sound, almost like snakes. And then I realized that the hissing sound was actually the wires at my feet catching on fire in my bunk. And then I realized that there were flames coming up at the foot of my bunk, and the bus was filling with smoke really quickly. Electrical fires are fast. So
Wow.
I started yelling, "Fire, fire, everybody off the bus." And the bus driver had told me if there was a fire, then get everybody as far away from the bus as quickly as possible. And so that's what I was doing, thinking the thing was going to explode. Now I know that that's just how it works in the movies. But, so we all came running out, and everybody's in their pajamas, and there's like film from the news channels of everybody in their underwear, just like piling out of this bus, screaming. And yeah, all our instruments, most of our instruments ended up burning down on there because we were told not to go back on it. But we played our show that night. That was in Hickory, North Carolina. I went to an antique store and found a washboard, so that worked out. My musical saw survived somehow in this back closet of the lounge with a bottle of whiskey, which I gave to the fire department. We had this big bottle of scotch. So we gave that to the fire department, and they all ended up coming to the show that night. And the band that opened for us let us borrow all their instruments, and we ended up playing the show while our bus was still smoking outside of the venue. It still was like smoking all night long, but yeah, it's crazy.
That is so crazy. And like, if you didn't catch that kind of, was everyone asleep when it happened?
Mm-hmm. Well, there were some people in the lounge in the front of the bus. There was like a couple of members where I think Bridget was in the front with the bus driver. So yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, that's just wild. Those, like, like that kind of dreaming right into like kind of save, like it totally just like connected you that there was danger.
Yeah.
Get the heck out.
Yeah. Well, I heard Dango say in his sleep next to me, he went, "Smoke." And I was like, "Yeah." You know, like as I was hearing the hissing, and then I was like, "Oh shit." I was like, "Smoke, smoke, smoke. Let's go." So, yeah, it was scary. But I'm glad we made it. And I'm glad nobody got hurt at all. So I was lucky.
It's really, you know, what's really cool about your band is like you've had, it's a fairly big band, right? Like you've really had how many? 7 members?
Yeah.
6 members, right?
Well, we've had probably 8 total now. Yes. Because we have 2 members that no longer play with us. And then
Yep.
we have a new guitar player now. So that means there's been 8 people who have ever been an elephant.
Darren Galway, is that his name?
Oh, Darren Garvey. He's our drummer.
Garvey.
Garvey.
Yeah, and the newest Darren. Who's your latest member?
Oh, Daniel Sproul.
Daniel Sproul. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's cool though is like that's really rare that you can have a 6-person band for that long.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Like, how do you describe it? Like, how did you all get along? It's such an intimate. You must be great communicators or something.
I mean, a lot of us do go on walks and yoga, have our own little yoga sessions out in the woods and stuff. I think that helps to get along a lot. Like I would save our veggie trays and make soup out of it so that you could just like go have a quiet bowl of soup instead of always having to have like a social dinner, which I do think helps to just take time when you can. And that's part of the balance. I think a lot of people go on the road and it's just like you have to plan in when you're going to not be social, which for me is most of the time really I think is kind of helpful because then you have a lot to give whenever you are around people.
Totally.
So that probably helped a lot. But yeah, we've still had 2 members that aren't with us anymore and then a new member now. It helps to have the flexibility to be able to have that whenever the time comes for that kind of transformation instead of the rigidity of like, well, then we're done, which is what might have happened when we took the hiatus. I didn't really see us continuing for sure, but then we started playing music together in the current formation just to see what it felt like, and it was really sweet, and everybody was really encouraging and really just like enthusiastic about the songs, and some of the new stuff that I've been writing they were all really juiced up about. So I was like, okay, let's try it, and we just tried that Planet Bluegrass show, seeing how it went, and with no further plans after that. Just like, it's been a long, strange few years with the COVID stuff. Like, let's make a fun event for. I wanted my family to come out to Oklahoma too, and have something to look forward to for my nieces and nephews and stuff. So I was just like, let's see how it goes, and it went incredibly well. So yeah, like let's do it again.
And so it's that simple. It's just like it felt good and there's enough space because I'm sure like, things like families and all that stuff, like, it's just really freaking hard. I really stopped my first band when I had my first son. I was just like, I can't stay up till 3 a.m. anymore.
Yeah.
And then stay up all night with my kid, like it just was so hard.
Totally. Yeah, we've definitely changed the way we used to do things because we did used to just play music till 4 or 5 in the morning. Which
is fun.
I can still do every once in a while. It's super fun because sometimes that's when the magic happens, but it's also feels really good to just have those be really special times when that happens and just take care of yourselves. And
Agreed.
We plan times in the middle of the tour for either kids to come out or people to go see their families. We're just trying to we're exploring being very mindful of like the health of the families, and it's a different structure for sure than we used to have now that there's parents in the band. But it's sweet.
That's cool. Really is sweet. And I mean, it's kind of a luxury that you can actually have a band that's successful enough to do that, right?
Totally.
Because usually you have to be like grind city to like There's just no other way, right? You got to visit towns 3, 4 times all over the place before anyone cares most of the time.
Yeah, I don't really know how it works. I see all kinds of music suddenly out there with the whole internet world
If
that
you're good at TikTok, right, which
right.
is not my specialty.
God, no,
Um,
no. I'm yeah, good luck to everybody in the social media world for sure. But
mhm.
I don't know if I don't know. I appreciate it, and I do like to see like beautiful pictures and interesting videos every once in a while, but you have to regulate yourself. I see a lot of people just kind of disappear into it sometimes. I'm just like, you gotta live
Mhm.
your real three-dimensional life that you're in, too.
I
But
totally agree. So this new energy, are you guys writing music? Is there like, are you guys thinking about another album, or like what is the kind of goals and aspirations of Elephant Revival 2.0?
yeah, well, we're just now rounding that corner. I mean, it's been kind of an experiment up until now, I feel like, of just like each show was like, well, let's see how this goes. Wow, that went really, really sweet. And we did our first tour since this formation in the fall, and we went to Portland, and it
You
was,
2 nights.
yeah, we did 2 nights. It was so fun. It was incredible, and people were so sweet. And that's like the most extreme enthusiasm we've ever experienced, I think. And everybody was just so loving and like, yeah, it was very encouraging. It was a really fun tour. All the rooms were just gorgeous, and we had fun in Seattle and that whole run in California. Um, so yeah, now we're like thinking more about an album. We have some new songs that we're performing already too that haven't been recorded yet. And then we just performed with the Colorado Symphony at Betcher Hall in Denver just a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so fun. And
That's a
we
lot
recorded
of
it.
intimate. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
good. Did you have to like really kind of help arrange your songs? Did somebody help do that, or did?
Yeah. We had some friends arrange most of them. I arranged my first orchestration for one of the songs that
Woohoo!
is, yeah, it was so fun. I haven't, for some reason, I just like quit with the writing notes down and reading of music mostly since I was a teenager. For some reason, I just took a big step away from it. So that was fun to like come back and be like, oh yeah, this language. And
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing to hear all these different layers weave together and outside of your head, and to have like a whole brass section and a wind section and a string section and a percussion section. It's just, of course, it was extremely percussion heavy. My piece was, which was fun. I love timpani.
Mm-hmm.
I love symphonic percussion so much. So I got a lot
Which
of that in
song
there.
did you arrange of yours? Did you arrange for them?
It's called Lighthouse. I actually
Uh
would
huh.
like to make a video in Oregon at one of your cool lighthouses. If you know of any good
Oh yeah.
lighthouses, please point me
Oh
in
yeah.
those directions, because I think we will make one
There are
out there.
many.
Yeah, I bet.
Ye-
Okay, send me
Yes,
a.
there are many kind of iconic ones. I think that you have to like figure out which one's the vibe you're going for, because I think I mean, Oregon's such a wild coast. It's like one of the cool things about Oregon is like the coast is just incredible here.
Yeah,
Um,
right, and probably needs lots of lighthouses from all of the craggly rocks shore.
yes, it
Right.
did. I don't know, like modern technology, if they do as much, but they're beautiful and they're still there, not torn down.
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing. So you got to play at the symphony, and is that like a total one-off?
Um. Yes, it was for now. I mean, hopefully we'll do it again. It was amazing. Those guys are wonderful, and it was Betcher Hall was this big hall that was kind of designed for the symphony. It's like a 360 room, which is always strange,
Oh,
but
really?
yeah,
For a symphony?
yeah,
That's wild. I've never seen one like that.
it's it's interesting. The sound is wild because it's so circular in there, and there's this huge dome above it with these weird like pods of. It feels like you're in like a coliseum or something. Like there's these weird little balconies that kind of outcrop in layers at the top. And that was fun. It was really, really fun. It definitely stretched my brain a little bit, but in a way that feels really good when you're like, I kind of understand now. But yeah, we recorded it, and hopefully they'll let us release a few songs to start with, and then we'll start talking about studio potentials. I've been working on a solo album, so I'd like to kind of get that closer to completion before I move on to another studio album. But I don't know. I think we'll see whatever comes first, I guess. But
I mean, is it kind of lovely? And I mean, what's the energy? It's taking a break and then coming back to something, is sometimes this amazing experience. Was that for you too?
Yeah, it was nice to like recalibrate and just like be able to be on a farm. It was really, really nice with my fiance and take care of sheep and play music for sheep and chickens and turkeys and peacocks and cows. They're just like, turns out they love music.
I know.
So that was really fun. And yeah, and then to see each other again after a while, because I just kind of hung out on the farm for most of that time. Went back and helped my family through some stuff for a while too in Oklahoma, and then yeah, so I hadn't seen everybody hardly, other than I played a few solo shows, and different members of Elephant Revival were parts of those shows, so I had seen them for those, which was really fun. But it was nice to see us all together in that formation. It was cool.
That's so cool. And were you living in Lyons? Was that where you were?
Yeah.
Is that where your farm is?
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. So beautiful.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky. It's nice.
That's awesome. Well, and for us coming to the festival, I'm guessing you're going to have some new songs and just some of that same energy of connecting. And I don't know if you know what you're getting into. Hopefully you kind of do. Does anybody been to Pickathon, or anybody know about us?
I mean, I know everybody was really excited about it because we've all heard about it. But I don't know that any of us have been there ourselves, actually. It just sounds like a lot of fun and a beautiful place with people who really like music. Sounds like my kind of place.
It's very irrational, and it's very much like I'd say Portland and kind of that part of Colorado are really, there's a lot about the kind of like similar vibes of food and community, and and just it's like I said, there's as many things we do that are completely busted from a business model. Just terrible decisions, but they're making an incredible experience for the festival, and we're busy trying not to give up on those ideals. Actually, one other cool thing I noticed about you guys is like we don't have any, nature. I mean, sustainability for us is huge, and we've like always challenged ourselves. What can we do? We don't have any trash. We don't have any plastic. We don't have any like compostable stuff. We wash dishes.
Nice. I
because
love
compost
that.
is really, it's mostly trash, right? And most people throw that stuff away.
Yeah, I
Right?
know. Yeah, the composting to-go containers are just, give people a false sense of being okay with wasting it, I think. For sure.
It's true. Yeah, people held us like we thought we were going to do all this compost stuff, but right now we're like, okay, well, maybe we have to wash dishes.
Yeah,
So
it works.
so there's weird stuff, all that kind of weird stuff in the farm. We set aside parts you can't camp in, and wilderness corridors, and just kind of like, native plant habitat. And it's weird because it's being kind of enclosed in on all sides by suburbia. And we're just talking about now how to kind of save it as a cultural conservation district. Because the farm owners are also really, they could sell it for $1 bazillion for houses and apartments, and it would be super sad. And so we have this kind of like dream that you're going to be kind of coming into, however long we can keep it going. I hope you're planning on staying all weekend.
We are, yeah, we're excited. We are there.
That's awesome. And I mean, you may have hotels or what, I can't remember what we said, but we have this lovely like concierge camping service too. that that we have for the artists. And you have your own like weird living room in the woods, which is like called you can find lots of famous concerts there called the Pump House and the Edge. The music you're going to see is kind of like a mixture of a lot of things that are like burning stars in their music scene, but you may not have heard of them, but they turn into something huge, usually because they're usually amazing. We have, we source all our food, scratch kitchen for the artists, like no cheese plates, no trailers.
Nice.
Yeah. And we haven't told anyone, but we'll just say it here. I think you guys are doing one of our curation dinners too, or meals. So hot tip for everyone listening is we haven't announced the lineup, but Elephant Revival will be one of them. And that's like we pair you with a chef, like some amazing chef, and we do a dinner for 100 people, and you guys play music. And that's like, it's totally dumb from like lots of regions, like business-wise, but it's amazing to do as a human.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
Next to a creek.
Yeah. Can you swim in the creek?
You can get in the creek. You just can't. It's just not deep enough to swim in. You can totally get in it, though. Okay. People sit in it all the time.
Nice. Cool. That's fun.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on. I'm really excited to have, actually Josh is your booking agent that we've worked with forever on many bands, and he was such a strong advocate for you guys, and we were like, yeah, duh, let's do this. Yeah. So we're honored. We're stoked to have you. Yes. We'll have a mutually fun time, and you are a guest, and thank you everyone for listening today. Let's be all excited for the future of this amazing band that I'm pulling for more amazing things to happen to them and to us to benefit from that. So thank you. This is the end of episode 36, Pickathon Podcast. We'll be doing more wandering, rambling adventures soon, I promise. And thank you again, Bonnie, for being my guest.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Pickathon Podcast. This podcast is produced by Zale Schoenborn, Tanner McCullough, and Evan Throckmorton. Our artwork is by Travis Bone, and additional support by Ryan Stiles. The music you heard in this episode was by our guest of honor, Elephant Revival. The songs included were Piper's Son, Down to the Sea, and the one we're riding out on right now, Home in Your Heart. Be sure to check out our Pickathon Patreon, where we have exclusive interviews, content, and insights into the Pickathon world. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you hear your podcasts. And tell a friend about where they can get on the Pickathon bandwagon. Thank you to the whole Pickathon family. And like Zale said, we'll catch you all next week.
Falling down, spin me round. No one said this would be easy now, but you gotta keep